Okay, I'm back, which means I survived my first ever ultra. So for this video, I thought I would share the 5 things that I learned during my first ever 50-mile ultra marathon. So before I really get into the 5 points, I had such an incredible experience doing my first ever ultra. It was a massive test of endurance. It was a massive test of mindset. I was actually really pleased that all of my training for the months that led up to it allowed me to perform at a level that I was hoping for. I felt strong. I hit fatigue in areas that I thought I was going to. And my predictions of how I would feel at each aid station was very aligned with how I actually felt. So that was the biggest win for me. And I'm hoping that these points I'm about to share will help you achieve your similar goals. Lesson 1, eating on the go. Now, it became very apparent to me as I was training for this ultra that not only was this a test of endurance and fitness and strength, it was also a test of how much you could eat and hold down while you're exerting yourself in such a way. I kept on either being sick straight after a run or feeling like I was going to be sick straight after a run. And this was purely down to my gut and my stomach not being able to cope with the food that was in there and not being able to digest it properly in the time that it would become useful fuel for me during my run.
It's a bit of a marathon just getting through this bowl. It's overnight oats. I prepared it while I was at home. As many oats as I can fit in a little glass Tupperware with milk, a bit of yogurt, a bit of protein powder, pinch of cinnamon, almond butter.
And this is something that I think everybody needs to take into account when they're running ultra marathons. From my understanding, your glycogen stores are going to deplete well before you finish your ultra marathon. It's a bit different to being ready for a marathon where you carb load, get all of your stores fueled up and ready to go, and then it's just a case of gelling and giving yourself those quick fire starter boosts. Ultra marathons, you need to sustain a level of fatigue for potentially up to 10 hours depending on what distance you're doing. For me, it was over 9 hours. So by the time I was hitting the marathon mark, I was really going to need to start getting some more food in to fuel the rest of my run. And if your body can't digest it while you're on the go, you're going to have to stop for a couple of hours or an hour before you can start running again. It's just not something that works well. So learning what foods work with your stomach, practicing on those and eating them just like you would with any of your other gear. Don't change up anything on race day. Be prepared with the food that works with your gut. Be prepared with the food that allows you to be fueled for the rest of your run. Number 2, strength training, in my opinion, is an absolute non-negotiable. I think anybody doing an ultra, your heart rate is going to be a fair bit lower than it would if you were doing a 10K or half marathon. If your heart rate is creeping up in an ultra, you're going to find out very soon that you can't sustain that. So keeping your heart rate fairly low is incredibly important while running an ultra marathon. So strength training is what you're going to do to prepare for your legs to fatigue. Because the thing that will start to ache and fatigue first is going to be all the muscles in your legs. For me, my calves get tight. I start to feel tightness in my hamstring, my hips and my glutes. The bottom of my feet start to ache. So these are the moments that you need to be prepared for. And by strength training, squats, deadlifts, great compound lifts, and then single leg movements to replicate the single leg movement of running is super important. For me, Bulgarian split squats or any variation of a Bulgarian split squat is really going to help you out for an ultramarathon run. Point number 3, the mental game is the real race. Now, you're going to be alone with your thoughts for a very, very, very long time. So dealing with those thoughts, especially when stuff starts to get hard, when your legs start to ache, when things start to fatigue, when your body starts breaking down, your mind is going to tell you to stop well before your body actually needs to stop. So how are you going to deal with those moments? How are you going to fight through that mental fatigue? Now, if you can run with someone, that's amazing. Because for me, I was running with a friend of mine and we just had a great conversation for the first 4 hours. We were running, we were locked in, and that just meant that we could watch each other's heart rate, keep checking in on each other, have a really nice conversation while running around in a beautiful spot. That made the first marathon go so quickly. You'll hit a dip where you won't want to talk and things will get really hard. And then it's about encouragement and just sort of helping each other get through it. But it really kind of gets that first marathon distance out of the way to prepare you for the next part of the run. Running with somebody will just help you get through a big chunk of that run without losing your mind. Like it gives you somebody to talk to, someone to bounce off, you check in with each other, and if you're with the right person, the time can go so quickly. That will dip when the mood drops and you're both getting fatigued. You might need to employ some other tactics to occupy your brain and tell yourself that you've got this, but having someone to run with can certainly be a massive help. If you're used to listening to music or podcasts while you're running, for an ultramarathon, I would probably suggest listening to an audiobook or a podcast, something that's a bit longer burning that you can kind of really sink into, because you should probably be running at a pace where you shouldn't be overexerting yourself. It's a really long churn and burn for an ultramarathon, so you can kind of just sit into a great rhythm and just listen to a great audiobook, and that can sometimes be a really great way to get through the hard miles. Now, I personally don't recommend listening to much while you're doing a run like this. I think it's very important to be aware of your surroundings, but also if you have those bone conductor headphones like the Shocks, they can be fantastic because you can hear around you. Any of the headphones that offer transparency modes as well. If you have those kind of headphones, I would absolutely recommend this point. If you don't, I would be wary of wearing headphones while you're out on trails, because you do lose concept of your surroundings and anything can happen while you're out on a trail. My extra little bonus tip, and this is actually something that I did in my ultramarathon, is call somebody. call somebody and have a chat, because there were points on my ultramarathon where I could almost relate it to a long drive where you're just in the driver's seat, there's one foot in front of the other, you're looking straight down, so I could see how far we had to run, and I just needed I needed something different going on. I needed a bit of a change, and I just thought, you know what, I'm going to call my parents, I'm going to have a chat with them for 20-30 minutes. And it did, it just breaks it up. And it's not just about the moment that you're having the conversation, it's about the time after that. It kind of refreshes your mind, it kind of kicks you into a different gear. It gives you a break from how repetitive an ultramarathon can be. Again, this point comes with the caveat of if you have the right headphones. Like, I wouldn't recommend getting out your phone and start talking while you're running. If you have headphones that are connected to your phone and you have transparency mode or the bone conductors, great. If you don't, I'd avoid this point. And at the points where you're out on the ultramarathon, you don't have anything to listen to, you don't have someone beside you, you don't have anyone to call, this is when your resilience and grit comes into play. This is when you call on all the things that you have in your back pocket that will remind you that you're there for a reason, there because you want to be there, you want to achieve this thing, you can achieve this thing, that you've trained hard, that you've worked your mind hard to make sure that on the day you can achieve this. Just keep telling yourself, whatever the fatigue I'm feeling, I can achieve this. If your body truly cannot go on, it will stop for you. It will stop. And you might hit a point where you have to stop. But I guarantee that point is way further ahead than you think. I read somewhere recently that suggested your brain is the most selfish organ in your body. Because as soon as it feels like it's overexerting itself, it will send you signals to tell you to stop. But that's all it is at that point, it's just signals. So if you can fight through that, it's amazing what you can achieve. Once you know where your threshold of true fatigue is and where your threshold of I can't go on anymore is, it can be an incredibly powerful tool, and you are way more capable than you realize. Point number 4, practice with your gear. Be very careful with your decision on what gear you're going to take. So what shoes are you going to wear? What clothes are you going to wear? What food are you going to have in your bag? What bag have you got? How much water? Where is the water stored? All these things play a big role in making the run as comfortable as it can be. This is what to work out in your training. What works? What shoes feel the best for the distance? What food should you have? How much water should you have? How much water is too much to carry? What feels like it's weighing you down? But then what's too little water to have for hydration purposes? This is what you practice with. You pick and choose exactly what you need and you go from there. You can make mistakes in your training run. Make yourself uncomfortable in your training run. Try things out. If you try things out and make mistakes and feel uncomfortable during your training, it's going to benefit so much more when you come to race day. I think I didn't want to make this a separate point because it's tied in with your gear, but also have a plan with your pacing. Work out exactly what pace you can run for a very long time without overexerting yourself. If you go out and do a marathon distance as part of your training for the ultra, run at what you think your ultra pace might be. And if you feel at the end of that marathon run you have some stuff in the tank, you're probably in the right ballpark. I started by going out on runs, keeping myself in zone 2, so I didn't let my heart rate get anywhere higher than 140. And I tried to keep it higher than 120, so in between 120 and 140. So I ran up really steep hills, I ran really long distances, all practicing keeping my heart rate down there, which is why I would definitely recommend having some kind of heart rate monitor on you so you can manage that. If you manage that heart rate, the longevity of your run will increase, because the harder your heart is working, the more your body is working. Your fatigue in your legs and the rest of your body will all get fatigued so much quicker if your heart rate is jacked. So practice what pace you can do zone 2 at. So to sum up that point, pick your gear, practice with your gear, manage your heart rate. And this final point is probably one of the most important. It's listening to your body and knowing when to carry on and when to stop. Knowing when something is a genuine problem and not just discomfort is a really important skill to learn. One of the best lessons you can learn is knowing when to slow down to increase the longevity of your run. I absolutely love running up hills. I love it way more than running down hills, but for this ultra marathon, I made sure on any really steep hills, I walked a bit. And that felt a bit weird. I felt a bit disappointed that I had to walk some of it. But I did that to make sure that I could get to the end of 50 miles. Because there is no point letting your ego take over, running up that hill and being the first up the hill, but then not making it, or actually having an injury because of that. Take your time, be aware of the situation, look at the terrain, and if you feel that you can keep hold of some energy in spots, absolutely take it. If there are really steep hills and you feel that walking would benefit your race in the long run, walk it. Your body will thank you, and you'll get over that finish line way quicker than you would if you're just slugging it out at the end and the ultramarathon is in control of you. You need to be in control of yourself. So whether you're experienced with an ultramarathon or whether you're looking to do your first one, I hope you've enjoyed this video. I've certainly enjoyed my experience of training for one. I ran a number of smaller ultramarathons as part of my training before my official race day ultramarathon of 50 miles, and it's an event that I love now. It's an event that I want to explore more, and I'm so grateful for the journey, and thank you for being here as well. I'm looking forward to making more videos about running and fitness, so thank you.